try to make this as sweet as possible because this really does bother me. I talk about this all the time. When I played in high school, you only got a mixtape if you were like a top tier guy. Back then, like you had to put in work, like consistent work, build a name for yourself to get a mixtape, and it was like an honor to have a Ball is Life mixtape. It was an honor to have a Hoop mixtape. We didn't play to have one though. I didn't go into a game doing something to be on Hoop mixtape. I went into the game to win and just be myself. And Hoop mixtape and them were there following me. I didn't ask Hoop mixtape to come follow me. I didn't pay Hoop mixtape $1. I didn't pay Ball is Life $1. They just followed me because I was that guy. They followed Brad Beal because he was that guy. They followed this guy because he was that guy. That's how it was. The landscape has changed now. Parents are paying these people to come to games. Everyone gets a mixtape. Everyone looks at the camera now and taps on their head when they dunk on someone, and it's all highlight after highlight after highlight. And now only kids watch highlights. They don't watch the actual basketball game, the purity of the game. You know, making a hockey pass, which means making the right pass. Even though you're not going to get an assist, you're driving to make a play so someone else can make the play to get an assist. You know, diving on the floor, talking on defense, playing defense at all, shooting good shots, making the game easy, being efficient with basketball, and scoring off 1 or 2 dribbles rather than 15 dribbles. This whole thing, and I only named like 12. There's 50 of them, has been forgotten about in basketball. And you're seeing it with some of these guys that come in the NBA. And I can name you names, but I'm not going to. That come into the NBA and have all the talent in the world, but like they need to be taught basketball because like this is what basketball is now. Like highlight culture has absolutely, it has killed the game of basketball.
I could not agree more.
It's a fact.
When I first watched that, it like spoke to my soul. It just. Sometimes somebody says something that's just so true, like you really can't add on it, and that's what it was.
And it's like so obvious. You know, I was talking to somebody. You know the kid with one arm.
Yeah, Emmanuel Hansel.
And somebody was like, "Oh, he's gonna make it to the NBA, man." I was like, "No, he's not, because it's the NBA." No, you don't know. You just hate, man. I seen him play. I said, "Listen, these are like world-class athletes."
And they have 2 arms.
There's people there's people who you can't go to the league because you can't use your left arm adequately enough. So if you don't have it at all, you're not going to the NBA. But it's like it's too many. I don't say it's too many because that's what grew the sport. But it's a lot of casual fans who don't watch, and you watch like ESPN and all these places.
That's a massive thing. I went to a pro soccer game in Chicago about maybe 6-7 years ago. And my son and I watched the game. We kind of critiqued the play, what have you. We never got up and cheered or yelled or did anything crazy, but we enjoyed our experience.
Right.
We did it from like a love of soccer perspective.
Right.
Got back to the hotel, went to McDonald's, and there were 3 fat guys in front of me at McDonald's, and they had on team shirts and hats, and they're talking about the game and the season, and their conversation to me was idiotic. These guys can't play soccer. They don't know soccer. They should probably shut up. Right. And then I paused. It's like, those guys make this work as much as I do.
Exactly.
Because they're buying all this freaking merchandise. You know, they're not getting pussy, but they're talking about the soccer game, and it matters to them, and they get the tickets, and they're probably buying beer and hot dogs and stuff that I won't buy at a stadium because it's overpriced. Right. And they drive the economy of sports.
It's like a catch-22 because it's like, that's why the sports in general has grown so much and people can get these massive contracts, but it's also the reason why it's hard to like coach kids because it's like you watching the highlight reel, you watching the highlight film, and these guys who are like uber talented and gifted, they don't know how to play basketball, they don't know how to play football, they don't know how to play soccer. Because they don't know how to, like you said, make a hockey assist. They don't know how to set a pick or set a screen. They don't know, and you get players like Russell Westbrook. You get these players who are just world-class athletes, but you can't play him at the end of games, and he'll be a Hall of Famer. Or you'll have.
Context, like Russell Westbrook is going to be a deserving Hall of Famer. He has shortcomings in his game at the NBA level. Austin Rivers, the person who made these comments,
right,
is essentially an NBA journeyman.
Right.
But both those guys are millions of miles ahead of the people that Austin's talking about.
Of course. But
And that's some guy on the JV team or a varsity guy or a guy that gets cut who's, dropping mixtapes from LA Fitness and stuff like that. Like, that's just a joke, man.
I mean, but
It's just a total
But it's
joke.
like people like that because Russell Westbrook is not as far from that as you would say. Think.
He is, though. When you really look at it,
He's a Laker fan.
Yeah,
Man.
okay. And I've never liked Russell Westbrook, but it's like these guys.
He's not that far. Stop it.
No. But there is guys who are like super athletic and super hyper athletic, hyper body build who can overcome that and then make it to the next level, and everybody think they can do it. It's certain things that LeBron does that are like not mechanically right, but they're like they work for LeBron and they work at the highest level, so now people do them.
They try to do them, yeah.
Or they try to do them.
That's the thing. I'm a big aristocracy of talent guy, and the guys that reach the professional level, the high level D1s and stuff like that. That is a tremendous amount of talent, but it's also a tremendous amount of mental talent and mental toughness to do that. And that's what with the highlight guys, that's what you don't have.
Yeah.
Right.
You have a guy and I would probably suspect 99% of the highlight guys don't really win many games.
No.
Or they've reached a point where they just can't function and win, and they pivot, and they just go to this highlight thing. And
Right.
this is my thing. I'm the fucking dribble guy. I'm the whatever guy. And they love the game. They want to stay involved. They want to have some sort of popularity to it. And they just find this lane and create content with it. But you're so far removed from anything that wins basketball games at any respectable level.
Right.
Keith says Austin is 1,000% right, but it's not going to stop me from getting paid to help all these trash kids.
Truth.
You guys both are saying, because you're saying on one end it helps the sport become more popular. It helps the more people. It attracts more people to the sport, but also on the other end, it also can be bad for the actual game itself.
Dilutes the
Right.
sport.
It dilutes the sport.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like which one do you want? Because highlights are really what the young guys and the young people TikTok highlights of basketball, IG now with the stories like John Miranda is featured in that so it's like that's how a lot of younger people consume sports these days anyhow.
Right.
It's just off straight highlights. So when they look at themselves when they play sports, that's how they are going to try to play
Perceive it,
them
yeah.
in the same eyes that they watch sports in general, period.
It is always going to be an uneasy coexistence.
Yeah.
But if sports continue to be the money machine that they are, the coexistence has to do. You have to have people that are passionate about it, that even if they don't know it, they're going to spend money on it, they're going to consume it, they're going to care. That drives the sports economy. And I think Austin's kind of alluding to it when he says that there's guys that come into the league now,
Right.
and they don't really understand how to play. Then you're in a dangerous position because the product at the top of the pyramid becomes diluted,
Right.
and now you're in a place that's not good.
But to Black's point about how tough it can be or will be to coach the younger generations, it's like
Just cut them.
you can't really even. Those guys are so individually talented. You
It's
have
hard-
a tough.
It's hard to cut them.
because if you cut them or bench them, they're just going to go to the other AAU team. They're just going to go to the other school. Like they're lifting.
But
all
here's
these
the
restrictions.
gamble. Here's the gamble. And this is why I believe, in the aristocracy of talent, if you're too fixated on your individual nonsense, you're not going to be a good winning player, and you're not going to achieve success in the game. So if you leave and go to another school, if you're that guy, good, you're going to bounce around to 4 or 5 schools in high school, and you're going to lose or be irrelevant or be a disliked player at every place you go. because you are not a winning player.
Or maybe not, because
There's no maybe not on that.
That's the culture now.
No, but look.
People go to multiple schools.
No, that's fine. But I'm just saying, if like they're not going to achieve, guys that like you screw yourself up if you to go like
I know
high
what you're
college
saying.
NBA
Yeah.
if you don't learn how to really play. Now, I mean, there are freak athletes.
I mean, look,
that are around,
but look
that's it.
again. Look at Russell Westbrook.
Right.
Russell Westbrook is not a winning player, but he will be a Hall of Famer. He averaged triple doubles for 4 or 5 years, but it's because he manipulated the rules and he's a freakish athlete.
And I think that's the exception. He said at the end there's going to be freakish athletes that can probably bend around that.
Well, there's and again, I mean, and Westbrook is a unique exception to that. But I mean, like you look at like draft busts, like guys that go in the top 5, 7, 8 picks. You don't get drafted in that area if you're not some sort of physical freak. And a lot of those guys, don't pan out because they don't develop their games or they don't love the game that they need like they do. I mean, the one thing that I absolutely like love about the majority of anybody in the NBA that we really think is good, those guys are always getting better. They're always adding stuff to their bag.
Always.
Season to season, you see it, and there's nothing but respect for that. And that's really the model that people need to look at. But most people are too short-sighted.
But
and that's why the pyramid top is so small.
But that's what Austin Rivers is speaking to, the fact that it's so many of these guys who are just not smart basketball players because they never learned.
Right.
And so now because it used to be like growing up, I was small. I was small, but we played basketball every day. So the only way I could play is if I was smart, because I wasn't taller, I wasn't faster, I didn't jump higher, but I could play because I can maestro the game. I know how to play defense. I know how to read the defense, so I can actually know how to play the game and be effective. Now, it's guys who are just like superior athletes, so you don't have to be as smart because you're just better physically.
Well, I don't look at it really as like a superior athlete thing. Like I think and Bubba, you play a lot and I play a lot. Like you go to like some of these gyms and you see the younger kid, and like we're not just talking about freakish athletes, some 15-year-old who's 6'8" or anything, but you see so many kids. They're young, they've got some ability or whatever, but they're just focused or intent on the wrong stuff, and they're miserable to play with.
Right.
You don't want them on your team, and more often than not, they lose, and they're typically tend to be like very, front-running, poutish kids. They hit a couple shots, they're swaggering around doing this crap, and then they lose, and then they're on their cell phone and quietly leaving the gym. Like those are just soft bitches.
Right.
That's what they are, and we don't have to worry about them. The game's gonna sort them out. The guys that get through the pyramid, if you're a freakish athlete or you're a guy that learns how to play,
the game is going to sort them out. I like how you said that.
It's fine. Yeah, I mean that's those guys are always going to make their way. I think, like, to me, and I coached high school for about 15 years. Like, if you love the game of basketball, you have an affirmative duty to cut fake pretenders. Even if at this window of time they might be like a bit more advanced than some other kids that you have, don't empower the idiocy. If you see that that's what the kid is all about, that ain't gonna change.
Yeah.
Take somebody who's gonna do more to win.
I mean, but when you agree, it used to be easier because there was less AAU teams. Now there's one every block.
I mean, I coached in high school from basically like 2000 to about 2014. There was a lot of AAU. I mean, and to me, the thing that I think is like I would almost laugh because I coached a little AAU too, and like you'd be at a tournament at Disney, and like you'd be on this AAU team, that third-rate AAU team. It's like, oh man, coaches are gonna see us, and like you could be playing on one court at Disney, and at the other court, like Coach K, Coach Calipari, Jim Boeheim, every motherfucker you ever saw on TV is there because one guy's there and he ain't on your court, and nobody's gonna see you. Like you could literally like fart, and those guys could smell it, but they ain't gonna watch your game. So I mean, again, the game sorts it out.
Right.
Chris put up a good point. He says it's only going to get worse because clout on social media is better than winning to these young guys.
Well, I think
in their opinion,
the guy that stands out to me is that Mikey kid.
Yeah.
He was on a podcast and he was like talking about his brand.
Yeah, I saw.
And it's like, motherfucker, you haven't played a game in the league.
Right.
I don't know if you can or can't.
Right.
Yeah.
But here's one thing I know. I'm taking Victor over your ass,
Yeah.
and I'm taking Scoot over your ass because those guys are playing the part. Like Scoot goes into the G League and he's grinding.
Right.
He's going after people. Victor comes from overseas. I trust overseas guys.
Yeah,
You know,
especially now.
The development that they go through and they get in a professional setting that's about winning and playing, you know, at 16 and 17 years old. By the time they're draft eligible, they're already seasoned professionals.